Welcome to T-Smack, home of the T-Smack. May I take your order?
Hello there, and welcome to an all-new episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and much, much more. I am your host, Josh Scar, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, or the guy who runs my taxi, Alex. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I got my gold medallion so I can operate a New York taxi cab. I got no cares in the world because we're going up on 98th, and we're going to cut across over the west side, and we're all going to do it, and there's going to be no problems whatsoever, man. What about you?
Legitimately, I need aspirin. Like,
so that's
no
not
joke.
A reference?
I wasn't planning on having anything funny to say, but like, I did something in my back when I was editing last week's episode, and my back hurts, and I've got my usual neck pain. I'm just a mess, and yeah, I could actually use some aspirin.
So what you're saying is that you're going to need an aspirin so that you can get through this day. I get it, man. Okay, it's a rough day. It's a hard day. It's a good day to die hard.
That's one of the movies, isn't it?
Yes, it's the last one that killed
it's
the
the
franchise.
one that killed it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That one had Captain Boomerang in it, right?
Yeah, it was just oh man. That was a weird movie.
Yeah, they're trying to be able to legacy it by making the McClane mantle something more than it handed down, yeah. I never saw that one. I was legitimately done after Live Free, Die Hard or whatever that one was.
We went and saw that one opening weekend, and we all walked out like, huh, that was a thing.
Well, they just completely forgot what Die Hard was. Like, I know you can update it, but it's I don't know. It's a weird movie.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get into like what actually makes it quote unquote a Die Hard as we talk about this movie.
Well, obviously there has to be Christmas, but we'll get into that. Before we get into it, we will hear from our friends Josh and Amanda Wilson over at the Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast. We'll be right back.
The Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast. You know that family whose house you hung out in when you were a kid? The house was a little loud and chaotic, but always fun, and sometimes felt more home than home. Well, that's us.
We're the Wilsons, and we welcome you into our podcast with silly chat, ridiculous games, and interviews with interesting people.
Like a spin doctor. The Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast.
Welcome home.
Let's talk Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Dun 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 dun. I can't do the music.
Don't you mean dun 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 dun? When did that become the theme song for Die Hard? Like,
I don't know, but
it was. I get it, but it was really out of nowhere, and it was like the theme for the rest of the movie when it showed up.
It was bizarre. Yet it kind of worked. Every once in a while, they brought in a little bit of the kind of Christmas bells kind of thing going on. But oh boy, this... I have not legitimately seen this movie since 2001, maybe, because Die Hard is a Christmas staple, sometimes Die Hard 2. I remember seeing this one very, very vaguely. Watched Live Free or Die Hard in theaters, seen it a few times since. Watched A Good Day to Die Hard once, was like, what is this movie? What are you doing here? Obviously, this was just a cash grab movie because Live Free or Die Hard was a step down, but it still made a ton of money. But A Good Day to Die Hard,
I think that's kind of like the Avatar 2 kind of thing, where it's like, oh, it's been so long. What does a Die Hard sequel 10 years later look like? 12 years later look like? Whereas with this one, it was only like 2 or 3 years.
So Die Hard was 88, and then just about 2 years later, they rolled out A Good Day to Die Hard. This one was 5 years later. Which, now knowing what we know about Bruce Willis's health issues, I can kind of see why they kind of just let that one roll through. It was kind of a situation. It seems to be kind of a situation of like shit or get off the pot, and let's get this done. So, Die Hard is a classic. It made bank, made Bruce Willis a star. I absolutely love this film. Die Hard 2 is a weird retread that kind of works in its own way, but kind of doesn't. Man, this film, I'm just gonna go out and say it. It's a damn good film. Like, I mean, holy crap! Compared to Die Hard 2, Live Free or Die Hard, and A Good Day to Die Hard, yeah, this is what Die Hard 2 should have been. John McTiernan came back after not doing the second one. The second one was Rennie Hartland, who was probably best known at this point, as in now, as the guy who did Deep Blue Sea, which is a great movie in its own right. He did probably do the best of the sequels to A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Master, which was fantastic. Nothing else really speaks to me looking at his filmography. But John McTiernan backed in the saddle to do another Die Hard. You can tell this is a director who is just at his mastercraft. This is a guy who did Predator, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October, Last Action Hero, Thomas Crown Affair, and then, well, steep drop for everything else. But he knows how to... like the beginning sequence of starting off with like just showing New York and building up to it through the title sequence to the explosion. Then we have to find McClane, letting that scene, the reintroduction of McClane being suspended while they're in that truck trying to talk to him because he has this horrible hangover because he was out drinking. Again, he's on the outs again with Holly, and the build up to, I thought that, because I haven't seen it so long, I thought that build up in the police van was them trying to tell McClane, hey, we need you. We're getting you into this thing that's happening. And not that they had already grabbed him and they were taking him to dump him off into Harlem because he's like, so what are we doing? And they get him out of the car, the policeman, and just leave him in Harlem because he has to survive, 15 minutes walking around with this very offensive clapboard sign. And something I clocked it is they say, hey, listen, you have to survive 15 minutes. We'll be like 10 blocks away. And he's like, I won't survive 4. They cut from him like outside. You still don't see what the board says. And that is the introduction of Samuel L. Jackson. And you get a minute and a half of Samuel L. Jackson talking to his nephews, who they are getting tricked into selling stolen items to him. But he's not a pawn shop. He's actually an electrician who is like an electrical repair shop. You see all kinds of like vacuums, radios, all kinds of stuff on the wall. That scene's about a minute and a half to where they're like, hey, Unc, there's a white guy outside. He's like, I've seen white guys. It's like, not like this. And they cut to him and you finally see what the sign says. Incredibly offensive. He goes across the street, like tries to help him. Immediately he's like, I got to get this white guy out of here. And then it doesn't go well. And a bunch of other guys show up. A bunch of Harlem guys show up who are going to throw down with him. And at the 4-minute mark is when he gets smashed in the head with a bottle. So that is just a great script detail of, I'm not going to survive 4 minutes. And they literally, you have a ticking clock. How long is he going to live? John McTiernan he knows his character and just directs the hell out of this script.
So I can agree wholeheartedly with a lot of what you just said, like how masterfully that stuff is done. But I feel like the movie really falls apart as it goes along. I shouldn't say falls apart, like, it doesn't like fall apart in the sense of like, oh, it becomes bad. It just kind of loses its own sense of self. If that makes any sense, because like Simon makes this whole thing about how he's playing the game of Simon Says, but halfway through the movie, he just drops the gimmick completely. And no one, like, you think that it becomes like a thing for John to clasp onto and realize like, oh, he didn't say Simon Says. Because for that last bomb, he didn't say anything about Simon Says. The one that's like with the elephant in the park. Yeah. He doesn't say that Simon Says. And so to me, I'm like, oh, he's going to play it back in his head. And he's going to realize he didn't say Simon Says. This is all just a farce. No, apparently it's a real bomb and they have to do this whole thing and it just is what it is. But the Simon Says thing never pays off in any meaningful way. I do like the Zeus John dynamic. Samuel L. Jackson, especially in this part of his career, is very...
One of his first like real starring roles, I think, maybe?
I think so. I think he had already done Pulp Fiction. So like this is like maybe big role number 2 or something like that for him.
Yeah, you're right. He had done Pulp Fiction. He was
Jurassic Park.
In Jurassic Park, yeah. Oh, Pulp Fiction was 94, so this is 95. So yeah, this is him coming off of his Pulp Fiction steam.
So like, I think the relationships, Zeus plays off very well to the Carl Winslow style character. He's more animated. He's more involved in the story from the first movie. So he plays a nice dynamic with John. I do also want to call out Graham Greene, rest in peace. Recently passed away. He's in this movie. Jeremy Irons, the other part of this movie that falls apart for me is that he's supposed to be Hans Gruber's brother. And all that really is something to tie it back to the first movie. It doesn't play any real significant plot point in the movie other than John has a moment where he's like, I went against his brother once. I know how this family thinks. But there's nothing unique about the way they're doing anything in the movie. And the way he finds out the end of the movie and like how to catch Simon is complete happenstance. It's because Simon tossed him a bottle of aspirin. And he's like, oh, I know where they are. Has nothing to do with him being a Gruber.
Yeah. So this Die Hard movie, so the first Die Hard movie is based off a book. It was supposed to be like a Frank Sinatra property. They couldn't get it off the ground for a while. And then finally Sinatra was like, I'm too old, man. You guys have been trying to do this for like 15 years. And it went through some people. Bruce got it. Definitely should have been the lead. Amazing. Whatever. All the stuff they did with it was fantastic. Every movie after that one is based off of another script that they just took. So Die Hard 2 is based off of a script for a book called 58 Minutes that is about a plane hijacking. This one is based off of a script of called Simon Says or something like that, which actually was a Brandon Lee vehicle that they were working on for him to do right after, what's it called? Right after The Crow. Of course, he passed away. They need a script. Apparently, Bruce Willis handpicked the script because they were tossing him Die Hard scripts because the first Die Hard did very well. The second one did even better. So they're like, hey, we need a Die Hard. We need a Die Hard. And he said, stop writing Die Hard movies. One of the scripts for Die Hard actually was set on a cruise ship, and it became Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Which, I mean, like, it makes sense because
yeah.
Speed 1 is Die Hard on a bus.
Right.
Like, it makes sense.
So what they did is they had that script and they went back and they said, hey, they went back to the writer of it and said, hey, we love your script. Make it a Die Hard. And so he puts in the Gruber thing and some other stuff. I didn't realize that there had been an alternate ending for this for a long time, but we'll get to that. That they actually shot, and studio executives were like, we can't do this, which goes to your point of the aspirin bottles dumb because it's kind of like a last minute add-on thing. But all that's to say, like, I agree that this script starts falling apart the longer you go through this movie because all the lead up in the original games are great. As long as McClane is on the back foot, much like in the original Die Hard movie, McClane doesn't know what the heck is going on, even though we, the audience, do because we're following Hans Gruber and Holly for so deep into that movie. And this one does a very similar thing that we started finding out about the whole gold heist and all that stuff because once they reveal that he's Hans Gruber's brother, some military dude, that's good. But then it falls apart because the entire game, as you said, was just kind of like a farce to get McClane out of the area. But then McClane starts developing superhero powers out of like nowhere. And that's to me where the movie started really just kind of like chugging to its ending of like, this is a movie, we have to finish this, we have to keep going, where him and Zeus are leaping off of bridges, sliding down embankments, tying cars to boats,
getting shot out of sewer tunnels.
That
Bugs Bunny out of a geyser.
Yeah, he's driving down this tunnel that is being flooded with water that has 14 million in gold bullion in the back of this dump truck, and he needs to get out of it because the water's coming faster than the truck. And so he like crawls on top of it, leaps onto this grate, starts crawling up of it, and the water pressure then spits him out. And he literally, as you said, Bugs Bunny launched up. And just so happens as Zeus is driving by to like crash land on the ground and get him up and like, all right, let's keep going. It starts becoming too fantastical of these people aren't really injured, that they're not really suffering. unlike the original Die Hard, and Die Hard 2 does pretty well, in which John McClane is carrying every injury forward moment to moment. He starts limping during the movie. Yes, they're doing the thing where he's back to his like white cut off sleeve shirt, and that's getting dirtier and dirtier. But they start kind of like mix matching where he can't be too injured. They have to have Zeus be the one who's like showing the injuries because John McClane's the hero. And
it's kind of similar to what we talked about earlier this year with Captain America: Brave New World. They keep praising Sam Wilson for not taking the serum and just being a normal person while wearing the shield. And they beat the crap out of him throughout the entire movie. But then he's just continuing on. He gets stabbed through the ribs by Sidewinder at one point, and it doesn't phase him even through the fight. He's just like, okay, time to do some flippy flips and other things. Like, he's not Steve Rogers, and they keep treating him like Steve Rogers. And that's exactly what you're talking about here, where all of a sudden they just hero syndrome John McClane, where, well, he can't get too hurt because eventually he's got to face off with Simon Gruber, but he never even faces off with him, really. Like,
no,
by the time the end of the conflict comes up and we think the villain has actually gotten away, which I thought was actually a pretty clever thing to happen. Like, yes. Obviously they're not going to get away with it, but at least like, oh, John lost. And then out of nowhere, he's like, oh, they're in Canada. But the superheroics of John and Zeus to a little bit lesser of a degree in this movie really does kind of like take away some of the diehardiness of this, because that's the thing I was always, I haven't actually seen this movie before. I know my dad watched it a couple times, but he didn't like Samuel Jackson. Die Hard was never one of my dad's bigger favorites, because especially Die Hard with a Vengeance, he never liked it when racism played a role in a movie. Like, he didn't like being challenged in that sense. So he's from that generation. It was just something that I never saw because my parents just said, oh, they say the N-bomb a lot, we're not watching that movie. But if you actually watch it and pay attention, they're trying to say something, trying to do something with it. But
yeah, we should talk about that. So the premise of the movie is that he's wearing this offensive clapboard that says, I hate black people.
Offensive word for black people, yes.
And Zeus saves his ass because it comes out later that Zeus is like, yeah, they killed one white guy. All of a sudden, Harlem's filled with a bunch of white cops, and we're not doing that today. He's like, we're not doing that. And so Hans Gruber, not his brother, Simon Peter Gruber, makes this game where he says basically that there's a bunch of bombs and McClane has to find most of them, and one of them is in a school. And there's like something like 1,800 schools in New York or something like that. So which one? It's all a ploy to get them away from the Federal Reserve building, which has like 150 billion in gold. And so he's just going to take it all. And he says that the objective of it is that he's stealing it so he can sink it into the middle of the harbor where no one can get it, and to destabilize the world economy. Okay, sure. Solid plan. But you're right in that eventually it just comes out that everything's a ploy. And now I kind of did like that the objective of Simon was actually not to actually intentionally hurt anybody. Because like all the cops and all those security guards and all the bank tellers, all this stuff, they're all being knocked out with poison darts or whatever, little injections, and they all knock out. So there's no killing of anybody. But at the same time, he's trying to kill McClane because that train derailment, which, by the way, wonderful scene. That fact that I clocked maybe 2 or 3 purposeful CGI moments, like the water down the tunnel. You could tell a few times the CGI with the blending, with the layering. But like that train, they crash a big ass train. Well, probably a model. But
yeah, that was a really great effect, like similar to Speed, not Speed 3. They haven't made a Speed 3.
Yeah.
Similar to what they do at the end of Speed, to a lesser extent, but also they did use like a miniature instead of CGI. The one good thing out of Skyfall is that train crash.
Yeah, that they actually built an entire set for that. And that you can only really do it once. So McClane has to run around and try to survive. I mean, some of them are clever, like the elephant one is clever. Going to, and you have to like, you have a 3-gallon bottle, 3-gallon water jug and a 5-gallon water jug. How do you get 4 gallons? I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, like that's a fun little puzzle, but that's the one, like I said, where he didn't say Simon Says. they clearly have never filled a water jug before, because the gallons don't end at the tip of the nozzle or
no,
the
they
neck.
do not.
You have like a good 4 or 5 inches of water or of space for air to be in there.
Yeah, you have a hash mark.
Yeah, so like someone clearly never had to change the water jug at home.
They do a good thing about setting up the whole Simon Says thing, because they go to a bank, they go to a payphone, and he's like, there's a bomb in the trash can next to you. Call me back in 30 seconds. You'll figure out the phone number from this mathematical problem I give you. And that was cool. But then they fail because they were 10 seconds over, but he said, I never said Simon Says, and nothing explodes. So I do enjoy that these problems are just problems for McClane, and that these problems are to distract him because he, one, wants to kill him, but two, he really thinks McClane's probably the only one who would actually be dogged enough to figure this shit out. That what is the real thing? Which when McClane finally is like, this is stupid, why am I doing this? And Zeus tips him off of like where all the no wait, it's those kids whose bikes they steal, go like, hey, all the cops are nowhere in the last 30 blocks, we're going to steal everything we can. He's like, wait a second, there are no cops around here, why? And he starts kind of back he starts
puzzling it together. Yeah,
I do like that, but I agree that the last 40 minutes is pretty stupid.
It's like they really wanted to do Speed and The Fugitive with a little bit of Die Hard sprinkled in, and they just escalate it to a certain extent, and even a little bit of Lethal Weapon 3, which it actually gets more Lethal Weapon 4 before Lethal Weapon 4 actually happens.
Yeah.
The Lethal Weapon people saw this movie and went, we could do that. Let's do that with some karate.
Oh yeah. Which, by the way, I need to praise Sam Phillips, who is Katya. Sam Phillips is a wonderful musician who has had a long and storied career.
Is she the knife lady that went really overboard with killing that one security guard?
Yes, she is the 90s token badass hot chick who must get laid. Much like Ivana Onatopp from GoldenEye. Yes,
and don't forget about Ilsa from last week with Judge Dredd. The minute she became a henchwoman, the boobs came out. So exactly. That means they banged.
I think I think Katya has maybe a line this entire movie, and then of course once the villains think they got away with it. Oh, by the way, also like GoldenEye, she's a helicopter pilot.
You got to have those women be multifaceted. You can't just have them be killers. They got to know how to fly helicopters too.
I love the ending of it, because the bad guys think they've gotten away. He's talking about, oh, we've kept all the gold. We now have an army. We need we were in, what do you say? We were an army without a country, and now we are an army who will buy a country.
Tomorrow we will buy our own country or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he kind of glances off into the distance, and she's walking up the stairs in the most runway model walk ever, of all hips and taking off her jacket and crap. He puts somebody else in charge of the party, follows her up there. She attacks him, is apparently behind the door on a cabinet, because she spider monkeys onto his back. He flips her onto the table, and apparently they're in mid doing it.
That's their foreplay. Yeah.
When the helicopter shows up. But there are legitimate parts of this movie that I'm just sitting there really, really finding great. And one of the things that I actually started to like is Samuel L. Jackson. He's, I think, mid 40s in this film. He really became a star later in life. I think Bruce Willis is about 38, 39 when this movie came out. The repertoire is great. I really enjoy that the two of them are going at each other a little bit. That weren't
they also in Pulp Fiction together? So they had a little bit of they had a little bit of history going back a couple of years to when they were filming that. So the chemistry was probably there. Samuel L. Jackson might have even gotten the role before Pulp Fiction ever came out, because Bruce Willis was like, you need this guy.
Yeah. And so I really enjoy their chemistry, that while John is the hero, Zeus is holding his own with educating him on oh, well, I know this because of this, or the math is this, here's how you do this. That they gave him enough meat that he wasn't just there as the sidekick to make was it the black best friend or whatever, to make racial remarks. He was there for them to both go at each other to build something together. I really liked that part of it.
He was the brain to his brawn.
Exactly. And the further they got into the film, the more they kind of like bonded with each other, and they even were snapping at each other like, dude, I'm just like trying to figure this out with you. And I really, really like that, which is really unfortunate that your folks never watched this.
Well, like my dad watched it. I'm sure he didn't see it in theaters. Like he probably rented it, and then he heard all the N-bombs and like heard all the comments about white people, and he was just like, I grew up in the 1950s. This isn't what I want to hear. And me being me now, I'm like, this is what white people need to hear. But I
we
agree
should watch
that
this and Blazing Saddles just back to back.
I watched Blazing Saddles all the time. My parents were just like, okay. I don't think they knew what Blazing Saddles was. But yeah, I agree that the relationship between Zeus and John grows very naturally throughout the course of this adventure, even though it's only supposed to take, the main portion of it is only supposed to take place over like 6 hours, maybe. It's like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then the end of the movie happens like a little later the next day. But overall, like, I do think this is a really good movie. I don't, kind of like Judge Dredd, but in the reverse, where because it's labeled a Die Hard movie, I think people have a different expectation of what it should be. And if it was just this random New York City cop goes on this adventure, like instead of it, call it Bomb Squad, I don't know, like maybe it's a little more appealing to people. But because it's Die Hard, people aren't expecting things like a racial ethics course, even though John has like 3 black best friends from his first movie as well, but they're just not as in your face about the racial inequality that Samuel L. Jackson's character is in this one, Zeus, I should say.
Like I really have no problem with the film as a Die Hard film, other than the end gets way into Looney Tunes of absurdity. Like part of me wonders if this script was maybe originally like well, I mean, yes, Brandon Lee was pitched, so they would have had a lot more of the intensity of the martial arts and like the training that he would have had. So maybe Brandon Lee would have sold some of that stuff better if they were doing the original version of the script. But I could also see it having been like a Stallone or a Schwarzenegger film, that it was that just over the last 30 minutes, just so over the top machismo. Nothing hurts me. I can figure this all out. We're just going to just keep throwing money at the screen of like, no, has anyone ever seen a boat pulled by a car before? You know, that kind of thing. But it does do a good job tying things back, little things back onto each other. Like that the school being targeted is Zeus's nephew's school. And I'm sure that wasn't intentional. It just happened that he sent McClane to that street corner, and that is the school that is for that district. So that gives stakes for Zeus. But that also, I like the characters that they build up around it, like the bomb squad guy. Absolutely love that guy. He's just so excited to be like, oh, these materials are great. They're like inert. They're inert. But the second they touch each other, they can do all kinds of damage. And he shows it by blowing up the chair. And then McClane remembers later on, oh yeah, if I touch these 2 materials, I can break the cuffs and get Zeus out of here. Okay, that makes sense. I like that. I love the construction worker driver guy who's just there to just rattle off about all the intricacies of the subway system that they're building.
Yeah, they do a really good job of just sprinkling in like the everyday New Yorker stuff that like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies kind of get a little bit of hassle for, where, you know, the New York, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us kind of thing. But I think part of it is that Simon doesn't have anyone to bounce off of. He just is there to monologue to John, and John gets to quip at him. Like, he doesn't have, who's the sleazy guy with the Hans Booby guy?
The guy who's hitting on Holly.
Yeah. You don't have that kind of guy to really showcase like who Simon is as the villain. And I think that kind of hurts the film, especially when you put him in a weird situation where he shows up as like an FBI guy, but he never flashes a badge. But because of the chaos, no one's really clocking it. And he shows up and he's just like, howdy, y'all. I'm Jeremy Irons trying to talk with a Southern accent. And it's like Stephen Merchant in Portal 2 as Wheatley, where he's like, I'm talking in an accent that's beyond her range of hearing. And then you hear GLaDOS go, I can hear you. And he's like, oh, crap, run. No one clocks that this very German man is trying to talk with a Southern accent. And then Zeus, who's been very observant up to this point, finds a couple of cops just hanging out outside the Federal Reserve. And he goes, hey, this is a bomb. Please, like, keep it away from people. And they're like, yeah, sure. Yeah. I know New York is diverse and a melting pot, but I don't think there's that many German police officers in New York, especially in the 1990s.
But I do love that moment that happens afterwards where Zeus is walking back like, something's really off here. And they start talking to each other, and the guy's like, the reason why they take the suitcase with them is because Zeus gives McClane shit about, you can't just leave it here. There's kids. What if kids find it? So they give it to those cops. So Zeus gives it to those cops while John checks out the Federal Reserve building. And as they're walking back to the car, he's just going to leave it on the street. And the other guy goes, you can't do that. What if there's kids?
I really did like that. That was a really nice touch and a good joke. But it did add in a layer of like differentiating Simon and his crew from Hans. Yeah. So like I appreciated that. But again, there's not much else there.
No.
And so it really falls flat for building him up as this 3-dimensional villain like Hans was.
I mean, part of it is Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman, bless his heart. And, you know, God rest his soul. He enters a room fully formed. Whoever his character is, he knows that person inside and out. He knows their tics and mannerisms. And so the first time he arrives and he gives that beautiful speech of going through, you know, trying to find Mr. Nagatomi. Yes, Nakatomi Plaza. Nakatomi Plaza. Great script, all that stuff. And as things begin to fall apart from him, he still never feels like he's behind. And you're right that he has that wonderful the person to bounce off of is like Harry, that guy, the sleazy guy, but he also bounces off of Holly, and he has the main long hair bad guy to go off of too, because he's like, yes, you killed your brother and you can tear the building apart while I wait for the FBI. He has moments to reassert his control and what his plan is. And even the great towards the end of it where Holly is like, oh, you're just simple thieves, and he's like, no, we're exceptional thieves, and if we're upgrading to kidnapping. Jeremy Irons, once they reveal who he is, it's like all the mystique is like ripped away, because you're right, there's no one for him to really interact with. He's just kind of like waltzing through this because his plan's working perfectly. There's no hindrances, there's no friction, because McClane's rushing off doing his thing. The most friction he gets is he gets disappointed that they didn't go to Yankee Stadium, because that's where he posted snipers, and his objective was once they got to Yankee Stadium, he was just going to snipe McClane, I guess. Yeah,
and because both of them didn't show up to Yankee Stadium, the snipers were just like, well, it's not both of them, so I guess we don't do anything.
Which is kind of a weird move to not just get rid of one of them. But he never seems to lack control until the end, and that's not a great point. So there is it's mostly just kind of wait. Like I said, like the last act is mostly just waiting for McClane to catch up, because, you know, like Zeus goes off in one place, has to go find McClane. They get on the boat, find out apparently there's some subterfuge happening between him and his Simon's people. But then you also have the police plot of trying to find, because they got to resolve that, and that never worked out to me. Like, why would you stick well, I mean, yes, I understand why he's sticking a fake bomb in a school, because that's just the red herring. But it seems like a lot of work to build a fully functional device that starts mixing together just to spray pancake syrup. You know, it's weird.
Like you said, I get it, because you're trying to create and establish a true threat that's going to occupy their time. But at the end of the day, the big question I have about this movie is this one of those movies where if Simon's hubris of needing to get John involved, if they just do their thing and let the police run around trying to find bombs, or you leave clues, like if they don't involve John at all, do they get away with it?
That is what I'm actually starting to think was the intention of the movie, because the plan is to steal the gold bullion, as we said, to form their own, to buy their own country or some crap. So the original ending of the film, did you watch it?
The ending I saw was the one where they go up to Canada and then John calls up Holly at Zeus's suggestion.
So the originally in the script, they actually did film, but the executives nixed it. They thought John was too cruel. What happens is the intention is they've stolen all this. They've stole a bunch of dump trucks the day before, 14 of them, to fill them all with as much bullion as they can, which is like 150 billion in bullion, so that they can get it onto a ship. But it's a shell game because that ship is actually filled with like scrap ore that's worthless that they will blow up and then like right outside of New York Harbor, like deep in the bay. And by the time that's all happened, they've taken off with the real gold bullion because, it's like, well, they will never be able to recover it because it's going to be a shipwreck and all this other stuff. So by the time they ever figure it out, we're gone. We bought our own country. We're rich as hell. So in the film, they get away with most of that. But John's like, no, this is bullshit. Something else. They got away with it. And it turns out that they snuck across the border to Canada, and there's a big showdown up in Canada and a helicopter fight that I still don't quite understand how McClane is so damn good of a shot. And why the hell is Katya flying 5 feet above the ground so that a power line can hit the helicopter?
Also, why is Zeus there? He has no reason to be there. He's not a cop.
Ride or die, buddy, man.
I guess.
Yeah, at this point, Zeus has been shot repeatedly and is like really beat up and way worse bleeding than McClane. But he's in the helicopter to just shout encouraging words.
Like, I could understand if he's there on the ground where like McClane's like, you're not coming. He's like, I've been with you through this whole thing. I want to see it to the end. Okay, fine. But you're riding shotgun down below while I run point. I can get that. And then like you throw like a red herring or something in there. But with him being in the helicopter with John, that one I was like, why?
So the original ending, after the ship explodes, it cuts to months later. Simon Peter is random Eastern European country or something. He's in one of those. He's in this bar and McClane drops in across from him. And he says, I want to play a game if McClane says. So what happened is McClane's life is in ruins. He basically, the NYPD and the FBI basically pinned it on him interfering with everything. So he's been stripped of his badge, kicked out, and they even cut off his pension because they're like, yeah, you've been here for like 20 years, but you screwed it all up. You interfered too much. You did this crap. Holly, of course, he and Holly have had problems, so he is alone. Now, the same thing is the same way he found Simon Peter in Canada is the same way he's actually able to track him down in this. And that aspirin bottle has actually the prescription said the small village that on it said the small village that he's in. So he tracked that down, looked up some stuff, figured him out. So what they do is they're sitting across from each other. McClane has them order everybody out. And Simon Peter's like, well, why are you here? You're just going to attack me? I'm a poor man. And he went, no, I know the gold. I got out. And McClane pulls out a little gold Empire State Building. He's like, you guys melted them down and sold them as relics. You shipped them out as little gold-plated relics, souvenirs. He's like, so you have all the money. Everyone else thinks of all your revolutionaries think, which is a little bit of a plot hole, that he gets accused of like what happened to the gold by that guy, and he shoots him. But then at the end of the movie, they're like, oh no, I kept it all. So not everyone was involved in the plan, kind of thing. But here, what happened is in the original ending, no one was involved in the plan but him and Katya. Their plan was to have secretly stashed the gold, but everyone else is thinking they've destroyed the economy and there's no gold. So he's a very rich man. Basically, he bought the town and he's living the high life. And so they start playing a game of McClane says, and McClane starts rattling off little brain teasers. But what he did, when they start playing the game, he pulls from his backpack a rocket launcher.
Oh God!
And you know the ones that like and it's stripped of all of its sights and everything, the handle, and all it has is the detonator trigger on it to fire it. And he just sets it down, and St. Peter's like, well, how do we know which end? And he's like, guess. Every question you get right, you can turn it. And so they turn it a few times as, Simon Peter's getting the brain teasers. And the final one is McClane makes it just says, like, a guy walks into a bar and puts a rocket launcher on the table. How do you know who lives? And he makes a joke. Simon Peters says something, and McClane goes, you're wrong. Now press the damn button. He's like, you can turn it again if you want, if you're not sure. You're going to turn the damn button, though. And Simon Peters spins it one more time, is forced to hit the button because McClane has a gun on him, chooses wrong, the rocket hits him, kills him, and McClane stands up and says, one of them is wearing a flak jacket, asshole, and kind of walks out. So the executives thought that it made McClane too cold, that he's too vengeful.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. But at the same time, this was planned to be the last one.
That's the name of the movie as well, though.
Yeah. Basically, this was planned to kind of like be the last one because Bruce Willis wasn't sure how many more of these he wanted to do, but he wanted to go off on a high note, but also kind of like a dark note. But they forced him to reshoot it. And I actually kind of like that ending because it is the downer ending of the bad guy wins. But it still shows McClane is so dogged. He refuses to let go because he knows something's up. And so he chases him down, which I think is a stronger ending overall. But I mean, it is fun to watch a helicopter get blown up.
Yeah.
Because it does. It ends on that. It ends on that great one-on-one "we're here alone" thing, which is what he did with Hans Gruber. They're alone together. They have to figure this out. And I do like the idea that McClane apparently sat down or read some like books on brain teasers so he could say McClane says two men walk into a bar.
Yeah, that part seemed a little out of character, but like if he is that determined and dead set on finding Simon Gruber, that makes sense. I do like the ending that they gave us, only in the sense that, again, it's the Die Hard 1 character arc just done again.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit more one-sided where through Zeus, John kind of starts to really be less prideful in his relationship with Holly, even though we know, again, it doesn't work out by the time we get to Live Free, Die Hard.
Jesus, yeah, really.
But at least he tried again. That's something for a character like this. But it is a little bit of MCU Spider-Man where they just kind of went, now he's John McClane again. Like he's John McClane married man, not John McClane separatees, divorcee, whatever. So like I like the character development where he is kind of just softened a little bit. And there's not a lot of character development for him in this one. It's pretty much just Zeus urges him to swallow his pride and call Holly. Like I think Zeus even says like you're just too damn stubborn to pick up the phone and dial back. Like it's that simple, dude. And it's true. So like I appreciate that bit of storytelling where even with someone that he's known for literal hours is that insightful into like, dude, stop being a prideful bastard and just pick up the phone and talk to your wife.
Yeah, I like that. I also like the original, the theatrical ending. It is weird that the bottom of the aspirin bottle apparently has where it's sold. Like I'm going to have to go check my bottles because I don't think they say like Walgreens in Rockford.
Yeah, I don't even think if you buy them directly from the hotel, they tell you, but maybe that's a Canadian thing.
Oh yeah. Cause it says like the hotel in the bottom or whatever it is city that they're in or however they know it.
Yeah.
But I do like that he's calling Holly because Zeus has told him, hey, pick up the phone. And so he's calling, which apparently he doesn't have enough money, so he tells them to have Holly accept the charges because he's going to pay for the quarter.
1-800-CALLATT, right down the middle.
Exactly. Damn right, Carrot Top. That's the way it should be.
I thought that was the weigh-ins. Wasn't Carrot Top collect?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. That was the weigh-ins. He figures it out and he takes off running, just doesn't hang up the phone, just drops it. And you hear Holly's voice going, hello, hello. And then she's like, God damn it, John, you're not even there. So at the end of it, he's like, walks up to the payphone again. They do that nice pull out pan shot of McClane's back on hold, waiting for Holly to accept the charge.
And like that one's even worse because he's in Canada, so there's international charges.
Exactly. There's no nights and weekends free. Not in the not in 1995.
I think the last thing I really want to praise about this movie is something that I really enjoy about like most 90s movies is that they pretty much just like wrap up the mission. There's no epilogue afterward. Once the mission is done, the movie's done. So like the biggest example I can give from the 90s is The Fugitive. We have Harrison Ford's character. I'm forgetting he gets put in the police car with Tommy Lee Jones after they kill the one-armed man and his colleague. Like, that's it. There's no like, oh, and he went and got his license back and his life is back on track. And he goes and on a date with Jane Lynch, who's weirdly in this movie as well. Not weirdly, but she's a wonderful actress, but like having the benefit of having seen her in so many things in the 2000s, you're like, whoa, Jane Lynch. Didn't know you were doing things back then. But overall, it's so many of these 90s action movies are just about the mission. It's not about the character and their lives and like seeing them become fulfilled and whole people again. It's just seeing their journey through this mission. Like you get a little bit of a tease as to like what's going on at the end, but it's very open-ended in the same sense that like, well, we need John to be depressed by the time the next movie rolls around if we make one, because he can't be all lovey-dovey with Holly and then do a Die Hard, because his motivation for being depressed and just continuing to soldier on is out the door because Holly makes him weak or something. I don't know.
They didn't need to add the Holly angle in, other than maybe they didn't want to pay the actress, because that he's suspended again is really enough. You know, he's suspended again. He's on a bender. Okay, that's to me like enough reason right there.
But the reason he's on a bender is because of his relationship with Holly, so it all comes back to that. Like, what else would he be on a bender about?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It's a solid film. It is much better than Die Hard 2 because Die Hard 2 is just the same movie again. They have to find a way to basically, get Al involved, even though I think they're not even in the same city as Al. Now they're like, he's like faxing him or something. I vaguely remember that. Holly's stuck on an airplane with the reporter who she has a restraining order. He has a restraining order against her because she punched him and other crap like that. I mean, it's a good ride. It's a good thrill. The ending's great with that absurd blowing up an airplane with a lighter with the gas trail. But until you really start falling apart here, the Simon Says threats, the teases, the wait for the big reveal, the effects. Because if you notice in the third act, that's when it starts getting really randomly bloody. Like out of nowhere, every gunshot wound like sprays the entire wall with the gore. And it's so absurd. Like just how far they push. Like,
I think because that's the time where John finally encounters the henchmen, among other things. Like we get through the second act and the most engagement they've had with any of the bad guys besides like the phone calls with Simon is when Zeus hands over that bomb to the German police. And then like, I think they just are like, we got to catch up to the violence that was in the first movie. Cause each act in the first movie is kind of punctuated with a pretty big action sequence, where this one is kind of the same, but it's done through like car chases and other like less confrontational action moments, where the first movie is very hand-to-hand shoot 'em up combat style.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because again, he ends up in a fight with a big blonde German guy who beats the hell out of him briefly until he gets
literally stabs him in the leg, and the guy is like, what was that? Like, does he have a wood leg? Like, why is he not even hurt? He's not even limping.
No, I vastly prefer this one over. I mean, Live Free or Die Hard is fun. It comes out 2007. It's Len Wiseman. I mean, come on, he fights a Harrier jet with a semi. What's not to love?
People shit on the like launching a cop car into the helicopter. I love that stunt. Damn
right, it's a fun stunt. I believe a car would more likely destroy a helicopter than a helicopter be flowing low enough that a power line would be a threat to it. And who is his daughter in that? Because she's fantastic in that.
It's not Justin Long.
No. Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
I like how it took you a second to clock that as a joke.
Well, was like, well, no, he's in. Wait, yes, Justin Long is in that. Probably that's got to be one of his last really like I'm a geeky young guy movies, right?
Was it Mary Elizabeth Winstead? Lucy?
Yeah, it was Mary Elizabeth Winstead. That's
oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. I did not realize that was her.
So that has actually one of my favorite lines of the film, not by Bruce Willis, because she gets captured. And the bad guys all like, talk to your dad and let him know, like, you know, like to give up. We're threatening you. And this is just after like McClane has gone into a fight and like maybe like killed a few of them. And she says like tentatively scared into like the radio. She's like, Daddy. And he's like, yeah, sweetie. And then her face just goes stone cold. And she says, there's only 6 of them left or something like that.
I love that. Yeah.
Good moment. Because it's such a good moment. It's like, you're not going to fucking mess with the McClane and like get them scared. No, she's captured for now. You're the one who's in danger, dude.
Man, that does not look like, I can see it, but like her hair is not how she usually styles it. And so like she's almost unrecognizable. It's like Zooey Deschanel with no bangs.
I love that meme. Like if you think that like she couldn't be Superwoman or whatever,
if you can't get behind Clark Kent and the glasses thing, look at Zooey Deschanel without bangs.
Yeah. There we go. Such a damn good movie.
It's fun at the very least. Like you can say what you will about it not being a Die Hard. I think it is at least a fun action movie, especially for 2007. I mean,
yeah.
I would rather watch Live Free or Die Hard than the Transformers movies. I mean, 2007 had a lot of problems. This movie was not really one of them, other than people gatekeeping the title Die Hard.
It's fun. It's a fun, good Die Hard movie.
I forgot they tried to because they didn't have the 2 or the 4 in it. They tried to redub it as Die Hard 4.0 at one point.
Oh my God, that's right. That's just no.
What is more 2000 than making something a 0.0?
They should have just fully leaned into it and had it be diehard.com.
Maggie Q and Timothy Olyphant were great in that too.
Man, Timothy Olyphant.
I mean, the hacking stuff is completely ridiculous.
So stupid.
But whatever. It's fine. You had a guy that was playing a game of Simon Says and broke his own rules and no one cared.
Oh yes, Maggie Q. Here's what she's listed as: Mylin, second in command and lover, expert in computers and martial arts. Because it's still like that.
It's that 90s. Late 90s to late 2000s. You have to have someone be really good at karate.
Exactly. You can't ever let anyone not be good at karate. Man, and Timothy Olyphant, the last like 15 years or so, he's really, really grown into his success, because when he was still kind of that like 30s, 40s, really lean, kind of baby faced. I'm a threat.
When everyone
but not
thought
really.
He was Josh Duhamel.
Yeah. I can get like Josh Duhamel's cast offs, but then now he's just really leaning into his roles ever since, what is it?
Was it Deadwood?
Yeah. Ever since he got back in Deadwood, and then and he hasn't Justified. That's what I'm thinking.
Justified. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. And he is, by the way, fantastic in Alien Earth, like absolutely fantastic.
I need to watch that. I need to get on a Hulu subscription and watch that so we can talk about that in the next What You Doing as well.
Oh yeah, he's playing a cyborg in it, and like one of like the earlier precursors of Ash, I'm assuming, and he plays that role so damn well. We're gonna have to get you like a 1 week to Hulu or something so you can catch up, because
I'll just cancel like my Paramount for a bit or my Disney, whatever. I mean, Disney keeps doing more and more shit this year that makes me go like, I really can't support you as much as I would. My heart would want me to, but my heart is and my head are both being like, wow, that's some awful shit you're doing right now.
Hey, so, a dream is a wish your heart makes, man.
Man, my heart is wishing Disney not being so shitty. If you want to tell us your dreams that your heart is wishing, you can join us on the Discord. Alex, please let everyone know about it.
It's tsmackpod@gmail.com. There's a link down below. So we talk about good things and bad things. We post the movie news, trailers, and stuff as they come out, give our opinions about it, talk a little bit, piss Matt off a little bit. It's a good time.
I got to get me some aspirin. My back is killing me.
How many times do they say that to set that up?
Oh, like they say that's like 4 or 5 times. Like that's the I knew you'd say that of this movie. It's like really bad catchphrase. Every time you meet someone who's not Zeus, he's like, "You got aspirin?"
It's like he's like, and it's always like, "Listen, man, you're ruining what was a good hangover."
He really just needs water. He's taking all that aspirin on an empty stomach. It's not going to help. So you can join the Discord in the episode description by clicking the link down there. You can follow us on all the social media platforms at Talking Smack Pod on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Email us your thoughts, questions, reviews, concerns, whatever you may have about the podcast. If you want to suggest a topic, if you want to just leave a comment, let us know what you're watching, what you're doing. Email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com. Thank you to Leo Allen for musical themes, Beppo for our original avatars, Retro Ale Studios for our Ricky avatar. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, rate, review. Or you don't review on YouTube, you just like and subscribe. But you can comment, leave comments. We've had a couple comments as well on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, you can do that. But please like, subscribe, rate, review on your podcatcher of choice as well. That helps us out a lot. And Alex, thanks so much for being here. As always, dear listeners, thank you for taking the time to listen. Alex, one question for you. What should people be watching?
Gotta watch Star Trek. Stranger New Worlds is still solid.
Who loves T-Smack?
I love T-Smack. Is it true? Mm-hmm. I do. Ooh.